Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Wrestling with Power. I am Mr. Mosley on this Tuesday, March the 24th of 2026. Tonight we're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff. We're going to forego the gimmick of the night. I know we usually have a gimmick, either me or Slick Vic, but we got a lot to talk about. A couple of unfortunate passings over the past week or so. And some good news as well. A couple of new entries into the WWE Hall of Fame this year, as well as, of course, the SmackDown review, the Raw review, more WrestleMania predictions, and the return of some more WWE trivia this week. It was a big hit last week, and I can't wait to get around to that. We're going to try to carve out a little more time for it this week. But, of course, joining me on this excursion, excursion. What word was I looking for there? Excursion. The incomparable, the always fascinating, the genius himself, Mr. Slick Vic.
Is this on? What's up, Mr. Mosley? How are you?
Well, I'm okay. I'm doing well. And how are you today, Slick Vic?
Oh, another day above ground. Another day with my feet on the ground. 10 toes down.
10 toes down. Well, I hope you got all 10 of them still. I know a few people that are missing a couple of those digits.
No, I got an extra one.
Do you really?
I do, man. Have you?
You're lying.
The combination to the safe is 2, 10, 11. Eyes, fingers, toes.
What?
It's an Addams Family joke. You ever seen the Addams Family?
Freaking me out. Yeah, absolutely. Thinking you got like extra toes over here, dude.
You bought it for a second. You were like, wait a minute.
I did buy it. I've never seen your toes, or if I have, I didn't pay enough attention to know if you had extras.
Got an extra digit down there. Yeah.
Fuck. Oh, but Slick Vic.
You mentioned no gimmick this year, but we're going to introduce a new gimmick, aren't we?
Are we introducing
a new little segment?
A new segment. Yeah, that's right. Well, won't you go ahead and tell the people about that? Because this actually has something to do with what we're going to talk about right now in a few moments. Like I said, we've had a couple of recent passings in the last week. And so a segment that we have lined up here, Slick Vic's got it all lined out. What are we going to be doing, Vic?
Well, I have this idea to introduce you to moments from wrestling's past because I'm a little older than Mosley. I grew up a very young fan. And I notice he is not as well versed with the golden era / not just the golden era, maybe even some of the earlier days of the Monday Night Wars. So I thought, let's get this guy's reaction to some of this stuff because there's some really good stuff. There's some really bad stuff. There's some, good, bad, and the ugly, as they say. And I'm curious to know how you would react to it. So we don't necessarily have a name for this segment, but I want to get your reaction to some of the stuff. As you mentioned, we will describe our first feature of this segment after we talk about the news because it relates to it directly, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And I'm all for that. And, you're spot on. As we talked about, way back at episode 1, I became a regular fan. I remember wrestling from when I was really little and watching WCW, seeing certain things on WCW. But I didn't become a regular fan until, I would say, probably 98. 98. I won't say as late as 99 because I'm almost willing to say I started watching regularly in 97, but I think 98 is probably a better guess. And I was straight WWF fan. Did not watch a single full-length episode of WCW at any point during the Monday Night Wars. So there's a lot that Slick Vic saw and experienced growing up that I did not. And so he wants to know how I'm going to react to this. And I'm going to do my best to put myself back in the early days of the WWF when we go back and take a look at this specific thing that we're going to be talking about here in just a few moments. And well, we'll go ahead and spill the beans, Slick Vic, because within the last week, again, we had a couple of unfortunate passings. Somebody that we grew up with, that we all grew up with, people of our age, big star in the 90s, probably, I would say, maybe not single-handedly responsible, but definitely the majority responsible for putting American martial arts on the map as it pertains to Hollywood, was Chuck Norris. And Chuck Norris passed away. He was well up in his 80s. He didn't look it. I thought the guy was going to live forever, no joke, because he was literally, like, anytime you saw him, you were like, there's no way he's, like, almost 90 years old. Because he just looks like Chuck Norris. He just always looked the same, kind of. But yeah, unfortunately, Chuck Norris passed away. And again, big star in the 90s. My grandma, my stepmom absolutely loved Walker, Texas Ranger. And I remember just, not specific shows that he was in, but I do remember watching that by proxy because they would always be watching it. But yeah, just a big time icon in the 90s, I think. And also was involved in WrestleMania at one point. Is that correct, Slick Vic?
Close. It was SummerSlam. SummerSlam 1994. He
Okay.
played, I believe Howard Finkel introduces him as like the troubleshooting ref, but basically he's the outside enforcer to prevent any interference between The Undertaker and Yokozuna's casket match, their second casket match of 1994. Can you believe that? Two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Chuck Norris is there at ringside, decked out like Walker, Texas Ranger. He's ready to lay down the law, so to speak.
So now I do vaguely remember him being there. I'm not sure if I've watched that pay-per-view in its entirety, but I do remember him being present. And of course, you see, over the years, you see clips of things that you remember. Like if somebody brought up to me that RoboCop was in WCW one time, I'd be like, yeah, I remember seeing that. But I never would have watched the entire episode of whenever RoboCop was there. It's just I remember the clip because it's a big time clip. But we're going to be looking at Chuck Norris's involvement at SummerSlam that year, and getting my reaction. That's going to be our reaction video.
Yeah.
Because especially I don't remember it well enough to remember exactly what happens. I just remember him being there. But before we do that, Slick Vic, I mean, Chuck Norris, growing up, were you a fan? Did anybody in your family partake in a little Walker, Texas Ranger, or any kind of movies that you remember from growing up?
I remember my parents watching Walker, Texas Ranger in passing. When I think of Chuck Norris, I think of two things. I think of The Way of the Dragon, which is a movie he made with Bruce Lee.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw the movie in its entirety, but I've seen that fight. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then there was a movie he made called Sidekicks. Sidekicks was a mid-90s Karate Kid ripoff with Chuck Norris. He was like the he wasn't the Mr. Miyagi character. There was an actor named Mako. I believe that's how you say his name. He's just one word, Mako, M-A-K-O. And then there was a bullied kid who gets trained by him to fight the bullies at school. But the kid idolized Chuck Norris, so he would daydream throughout the day of, fighting bad guys with Chuck Norris. And then sure enough, the real Chuck Norris shows up at the end. And and then of course, I can't talk about Chuck Norris without talking about some of his well-known facts. You do know that when Chuck Norris does a push-up, he doesn't push himself up; he pushes the earth down.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that was crazy too, because these memes and facts, well, they are facts, of course, came about. What was it, 20 years after Chuck Norris he hadn't done anything, since the 90s, and all of a sudden people are starting to realize all of these facts about Chuck Norris. That was great. I love that. You got some more, Vic?
Have you ever seen the Expendables movies, particularly Part 2?
I probably have not.
Okay.
Not enough to remember what happened. Was Chuck Norris a bad guy in that one?
No, he makes a cameo as a baby face.
Oh, okay.
But they even make a Chuck Norris joke in that movie where Sylvester Stallone's like, "I heard you got bitten by a snake," and then Chuck goes, "Yeah," and after 3 days of agonizing pain, the snake died.
Man, those never get old.
Chuck Norris, he once shot down a helicopter just by pointing his index finger and thumb and going, bang.
Oh, man.
Chuck, I remember reading this where Chuck said his own personal favorite fact was they wanted to carve Chuck Norris's face on Mount Rushmore, but the gravel wasn't strong enough to support his beard or something.
And you say that was his favorite one?
Yeah.
That's a good one. I have never heard that one.
Chuck Norris's tears can cure cancer. Yeah, too bad he's never cried. We can go on all day about this. We can be Chuck Norris with power. But
I heard one the other day, actually, on the day that he passed. My friend, one of my friends had sent one to me that said, well, there was actually a couple. It was Chuck Norris didn't die. He just allowed the world to go on without him or something like that.
I heard he allowed the Grim Reaper to take him.
Yeah. And death didn't come for Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris came for death.
The boogeyman wakes up in the middle of the night to check his closet for Chuck Norris.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. So good.
Those were fun times.
No, yeah. Yeah, poor old Steven Seagal couldn't hold a candle to Chuck Norris.
Fact to Steven Seagal.
He tried, maybe. But yes, Chuck Norris passed away. So let's take a look at this real quick, Slick Vic, before we move on.
Right. Might as well get right into it. Let me give you a little backstory. I told you before this was their second casket match. We're talking Undertaker and Yokozuna. The first one was at the Royal Rumble, and what happened was Mr. Fuji hired 10 people to interfere in that match. So they had literally 10 heels gang up on the Undertaker to throw him in that casket. And then
wait a second, this was Survivor Series.
Yes.
I said SummerSlam earlier, so I got it wrong. I'm sorry.
So, but at the Royal Rumble of that year, they had that first casket match. So, as I mentioned, 10 people come out, they beat up the Undertaker, and they throw him in that casket. Undertaker's getting wheeled away, and then next thing you know, there's video playing on the Titantron of Undertaker inside the casket saying that he will never rest in peace. And then there's lightning and stuff. And then next thing you know, it looks like the Undertaker comes out of the Titantron, floats up into the sky. It's really, really, really bizarre. Yeah. Fast forward, 8 months later, we get this SummerSlam, and they have the rematch, and then Chuck Norris entered Chuck Norris, who says he's going to make sure that nobody interferes again. So we have our match. So
all right.
You got the clip queued up?
I've got it queued up, and as a matter of fact, this one, it's not the entire match, but it's from the WWE Vault. It's got apparently the entrance that you were talking about, and then partway through the match, it's still an 8-minute long video.
Wait a minute, you don't have. Okay, I was going to say check. You don't have the Vault has or not the Vault, WWE's official.
Well, I think this is hitting the points without having to skip through the entire thing, because this is specifically about him. So we'll take a look at it and skip through it here a little bit. But yeah, this is for anybody out there that wants to check it out. It's from the WWE Vault. Chuck Norris helps Undertaker defeat Yokozuna, Survivor Series 1994. All right. So if I miss anything that you think I need to see here, Slick Vic, just let me know.
All right.
All right, let's take a look at this now.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, may I introduce our special troubleshooting referee.
Special troubleshooting referee.
No, this is perfect. This has all the beats. Perfect.
Texas
I've got it synced up perfectly with your clip on my end.
What kind of theme music is that he had? Was that just random theme music?
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, I couldn't hear because people were screaming and I couldn't hear if that. I don't think it was the Walker theme music. But yeah, he comes out looking like Walker, basically. And then we got some of the match here.
The Undertaker with Yokozuna. Look at this. No reversal to the buckle coming out. Here comes Yoko.
Yoko is terrified of caskets.
Undertaker's waited a long time for this. Undertaker.
There's Jim Cornette on the outside and Mr. Fuji.
No, he sees the clothes getting put on
Yeah.
brakes. Yokozuna and
Oh.
Yokozuna. It's on the casket. It's on the casket. I don't know if he really. And he's right behind him is Chuck Norris. And
Yoko wasn't scared of the casket. He was actually scared of Chuck Norris, I think, when he almost ran out of the ring there.
back to his feet. The Undertaker with Yokozuna. And Yokozuna with a headbutt. Wide open, the Undertaker.
Paul Bear is here too.
Yeah, there he is. He's got an extra large urn. I think that's because it had the lot in it.
Also, Yokozuna's, this is a special made casket that was double wide, double deep.
Yeah.
Notice Undertaker never punches. He does the thrust to the throat.
Yeah.
Taker is not completely covered with tattoos yet.
And you know, Jim Cornette, how he's not all into the theatrics and stuff. I heard him talk recently about how, with the Undertaker like floating up at the end of it and stuff, he's like, I was just embarrassed. I was standing by the ring post. He's like, I was trying not to be seen. He went into it. All right, so they're fighting inside the casket here. And Mr. Fuji put his hands on Undertaker, and now... Uh-oh. Oh, and he just decked Jim Cornette.
Cornette always taking the big bumps. Oh, here we go.
The King Kong Bundy's coming down to the ring. Uh-oh. Chuck Norris is tightening his belt. He's ready to go.
So, if I remember Bruce Pritchard saying Chuck forgot to wear his gimmick jeans, so he's got like real jeans on, so he couldn't kick high. So when he's going to kick somebody in a minute, he doesn't really kick that high.
Let's see. Yeah, they're spending a lot of time arguing with the refs.
Look at the look on Chuck's eyes.
Is that IRS?
Yeah.
Runs in, kicks Undertaker in the ass. Starts beating him up.
Paul Bear.
Wait a minute.
Was that you that sent that thing recently to me of Paul Bear in the movie rental place, or did I send that to you? You
I
sent that
sent
to
that
me?
to you. Yeah.
It's like, Night of the Living Dead. It's one of my favorites.
The Dead Pit.
The
Day
Dead.
of the Dead.
Every movie that had Dead in it, he was like, these are all my favorites. That's good shit. All right, back to the video here.
Chuck Norris is occupied on the outside with Bam Bam and with Bundy.
There's
Two referees are trying to keep Bam Bam and Bundy at bay. Oh no. He's reaching for it.
So why did Bam Bam and King Kong Bundy come down to the ring that early if they were just going to stand around arguing with the referees for 6 or 7 minutes, apparently?
I think, as Gorilla Monsoon said, they were paid off by Ted DiBiase to jump Undertaker, but they saw Chuck and they had second thoughts.
It just seems like they came down a little bit early, but yeah, he's still, Chuck Norris still staring a hole right through him. Jeff Jarrett.
Yep.
Hey, hold on a second.
The sell job by Jarrett is great. He's like,
What
he's
do you-
upside down for him. Sorry.
He kicked him like square in the stomach or something. Hold on, let's go back. Then he about tripped. Yeah, you could tell he definitely couldn't get his leg up very, very high with them pants. So
I love that clothesline.
the troublemaker or the what they call him, the trouble something, the troubleshooting referee.
Yeah. And we have a winner. That's a huge earn.
I always assumed it was because they had the light apparatus in it, where he opened up the top and there was a big light.
It might have been the same earn because, yeah, the previous month, Taker had returned. We had the Undertaker versus Undertaker.
Oh,
Yeah, there's the light. You're right.
all right. I kind of wish he would have kicked King Kong Bundy in the face too.
Oh yeah, just see him like tumble away as he gets kicked.
I was expecting. See, when they came out, I was like, "Why are they just standing there?" Because I was expecting them to be the ones to try to interfere, but it ends up being Double J's dumbass walking down there and taking the kick from Chuck Norris.
He might have been the only one willing to take a bump for a celebrity. Some wrestlers, especially them old timers, the old school, like the old school type, like Bundy and Bam Bam.
Do you think
Well,
that's where?
That's not
You
true
think-
because Bam Bam ended up facing Lawrence Taylor the following
Yeah.
year.
Do you think that's where Jeff Jarrett's career kind of he never recovered from that side
Oh
kick.
man, you can't get up from that. I mean, that kick is too powerful.
It destroyed not only his ribs, but also his entire career. He never really recovered.
He kicked his soul right out from. That was a fatality-like kick.
He kicked at least one of those extra R's, one of those extra T's right off of him. I wonder if he really kicked. I'd like to get Jeff Jarrett's memory of that. Yeah.
All I remember was Bruce Pritchard talking about it, and he mentioned like Chuck didn't wear the jeans he normally wears when he films Walker, so he just had regular jeans with no give, so he couldn't kick that high.
Huh. Yeah, he almost fell over too. If you notice, he almost tripped after he threw that kick. But good stuff. Was Chuck Norris ever in wrestling again, or was this his only or his last appearance?
He made an appearance in WCW once. I believe him and Jean-Claude Van Damme were on the same show, where I think they were raised Goldberg's hand after a victory. I think.
I can believe that. They were WCW seemed like there for a while. They were always trying to bring in like movie stars and stuff to do things.
Yep, I was right. There's Chuck, Jean-Claude, and Goldberg.
Well, maybe we'll have to react to that at a later time. But for the Survivor Series 1994, hey, we had a little impromptu retro review here, at least with the Chuck Norris spot and the Yokozuna and Undertaker match, which, I mean, it's got everything. There's Jim Cornette, there's Mr. Fuji, there's Paul Bear with his crazy face and his giant urn. Yeah, Chuck Norris is just, he's a guy you don't want to mess with.
Not at all. All right. Well, it was fun talking about Chuck, and thank you for humoring us with your live reaction. I hope we can do this again sometime. And if our listeners have any suggestions for what to call this segment, I would love to hear them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm down to do any more reactions. And, of course, this one in response to, Chuck Norris passing away. I don't know how old the guy was, but he was every bit of like almost 90. But really, I thought he was immortal. But R.I.P. Chuck Norris. Thanks for the memories and the sidekick to Jeff Jarrett. It will not soon be forgotten.
Rest in peace, Chuck.
We also had another passing, Slick Vic, over the last several days, actually, directly in the world of wrestling. Dennis Condrey. Are you very familiar with this individual?
I do know about the Midnight Express because I've been a fan of Cornette for a while, but I honestly have not gone back and watched many of those matches. I've seen one of those Rock and Roll versus Midnight matches from yesteryear. It's been a while, but they had like probably a dozen matches.
Yeah. I have to be honest with you. I don't think I've seen any of them. But I am a big fan of Cornette and his podcast, and I listen to him all the time. And just by listening to him, I've gotten a lot of history and knowledge from the Midnight Express. For our listeners who may not know this guy, because really Dennis, his heyday was mid 70s to maybe late 80s. Very early 90s, and then he was pretty much out. He didn't really come back after that, but he was a founding member of the Midnight Express, which is the tag team that everybody knows Jim Cornette was the manager of. It was Dennis Condrey and somebody Rose. I don't remember the guy's first name right off.
It's not Buddy Rose, is it?
No, it's not Buddy Rose. What's the guitar player's name whose last name is Rhodes?
Randy?
I think it was Randy Rose.
Okay.
I think they had this like a very similar name. You could go ahead and Google that for me and make sure, but Dennis Condrey was a founding member of the Midnight Express, and he was a member, even going on to when Jim Cornette came on. Eventually, from what I understand, he ended up leaving, and they had to get Stan Lane to replace him. And then the other guy was pretty early on replaced by Bobby Eaton. So Bobby and Dennis were really the sort of the standard original Midnight Express. And I haven't, if I've watched any of his matches, I don't remember, but I've really been wanting to over the last several days because I've saw so many people respond to his passing, and they all have the same thing to say. And I finally got to see Jim Cornette's. I was dreading it, but I was really, really, really looking forward to it at the same time. Hearing Jim's reaction, being that he was close to him. Bobby Eaton passed away a few years ago, and Slick Vic, I don't know if you've ever heard that audio of Cornette talking about Bobby Eaton passing away on his podcast. It's so hard to get through because he's so tore up and just absolutely falling to pieces. And I knew that this was going to be something similar to it.
Yeah.
But he was right there with him. So at the same time that I dreaded hearing him, because anytime I hear him like start to break up, it's Jim Cornette. So when you hear him start to get emotional and break up, it's like, oh man, starts to hit you right in the old
the feels.
In the feels, right in the feels. But I can say that as of now on YouTube, they do have the clip, which is like an hour-long clip of Jim Cornette's reaction to the passing of Dennis Condrey. And I'm not going to try to go over the guy's career because I'm not too familiar with it. I'll just recommend everybody to go and watch that reaction video. Not really a reaction video, but like his reaction to the passing, which is actually part of the Jim Cornette Experience, I think episode 626, which isn't up yet, at least on Spotify, but it's from that episode where he pretty much talks about his entire career, and I don't think there's anybody that can really do it justice and was as close to the guy as Cornette was to be able to convey that. So just go check it out. But like I said, the outpouring of love and support and remembrance, everybody had sort of this same thing to say about Dennis Condrey, that he was not only like the greatest, like him and Bobby Eaton are considered the greatest tag team ever in history. But I watched, all the reactions and then Cornette talk about it too, how Dennis Condrey was like the closest thing to perfect in the ring. All due respects to Mr. Perfect. But like Dennis, to hear Cornette break it down the way he does, like he was flawless in the ring. We'll reserve the word perfect for the man himself. We'll say flawless here. And it really made me want to go back and watch some of those matches. So we may do that in the next week or two. I may do that in my own time. We may talk about it a little bit here on the show. But I encourage anybody to do the same because, like I said, I've not saw any of his matches that I remember, but apparently he was on another level as far as in-ring work that wasn't matched then and hasn't been matched since. So that's about it. That's all I got to say. Rest in peace, Dennis Condrey. Slick Vic, anything to add?
Well, the first match, when I think of the Midnight Express, I always think of their feud with the Rock and Roll Express. But then I also remember Starrcade 86. You might have heard Jim talk about this because that was the night they had the scaffold match with the Road Warriors.
Yeah.
And, Jim ended up dangling from the scaffold, then falling and not getting caught by Big Bubba Rogers.
Is that the one where he blew his ACL and whatever? His knee, yeah.
Yeah, that was the night. That was Midnight Express versus the Road Warriors in the 86 Starrcade. And that had Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty infamous moment.
He talks about that on that clip that I mentioned, where he's talking about his passing and everything, and he does mention that Dusty wanted them to start doing more scaffold matches because he liked it, and obviously the fans were going to go crazy over this, but he said that they weren't like the Midnight couldn't do their best work in this type of match, obviously because of the way it was set up. Like, it's not going to be the best wrestling match you've ever seen when it's a fucking scaffold or a cage or a Hell in a Cell or something like that, gimmick matches. But yeah, that's a good one to go check out for sure. Because Cornette blows his leg. He blows his leg. He lands on his feet, but then he immediately goes to his ass.
Yeah.
He just...
He was supposed to get, Bubba was supposed to catch him. Big boss man.
Why didn't he catch him? He wasn't there at all. There was nobody there to catch him. He just eventually dropped.
He missed him by like 3 feet.
Oh man.
It's if you hear Jimmy talk about it, it's funny. It's like he's like Bubba's like, Jimmy, you fell so fast.
Oh man.
All right.
Yeah, that's good stuff. But anyway, rest in peace, Dennis Condrey. Rest in peace, Chuck Norris.
Rest in peace.
Oh, we've spent almost 40 minutes here talking about death. Let's move on to some more fun stuff, some more exciting news, Slick Vic. There's been a couple of additions to the WWE Hall of Fame over the past week. Isn't it funny how like Stephanie got her announced induction months ago, and then like it was a drought almost since then. But then all of a sudden they're starting to pour them in. Anyway, first was Dennis Rodman, the Worm, obviously of Chicago Bulls fame, 1990s. It wasn't all Michael Jordan. Who knows what Michael Jordan had been without the likes of Dennis Rodman, without the likes of a Scottie Pippen, you know what I'm saying? It might not have been the same story if he hadn't had that team of folks around him. But Dennis Rodman is going into the WWE Hall of Fame. He was in WCW, a member of the NWO, famously skipped practice so that he could be there in WCW.
Yes, I'm glad you know that.
Yeah. Well, I watched what was it? There was a really, really good documentary they put on Netflix.
The Last Dance. Fantastic documentary.
How did they get that footage looking so good when it was from like the 90s? It looked like it was recorded with like today's technology. I don't know how they did it, but it was incredible. Very good documentary. Go watch it. The Last Dance. But yeah, Rodman was just like, but why do I need to be at practice? Like I'm a champion and all this stuff. I'm on the Bull. He's like, well, so what if I miss a practice? But yeah, he would miss practice to go party and be in the NWO and be on WCW television. And he was a character. He was a wild and crazy character in and of himself during that period of time. And
he was basketball's bad boy.
Yeah. So, Vic, talk to us a little bit about Dennis Rodman. I know that it hits a lot closer to home for you. How do you feel about this?
I am extremely happy to hear this. This is great. I was a big fan of the Chicago Bulls during that era. So I distinctly remember Rodman showing up on Nitro with the NWO. And I'm like, oh, this is getting good. And because this is, like you said, he skipped practice during, they were in the playoffs or the finals. They were somewhere there. And Rodman just shows up on a random episode of Nitro.
Yeah.
I'm like,
smoking a cigar. And
he's hanging out with Hogan, Hall, and Nash. This is great.
Yeah.
And good stuff. So, and I'm really happy. I'm ecstatic that Rodman's going in.
It's pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty cool that they're putting him in there. But also, Slick Vic, another addition to the Hall of Fame, Sid, a.k.a. Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, will also be posthumously going into the Hall of Fame this year. What are your thoughts on that addition?
Well, we both know that he's twice the man that that's the line. I have half the brain
said-
that you do.
Everybody knows that I'm twice the man that you are, and that I have half the brain that you do. And Kevin Nash is standing there with like his makeup on, trying to look like Sid Vicious.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Sid is a very peculiar case. Sid, I'm this guy should have been in the Hall of Fame a while ago, in my opinion.
yeah, for sure.
This guy has wrestled only two WrestleManias, and he main evented both of them.
Mm-hmm.
He's got two WrestleMania main events. They're not great matches, but whatever. Who cares? It's the fact that he main evented two of them is a feat that not many people can say they did.
Yeah.
But Sid had a presence. If you ever saw Sid, this guy was like 6'9", jacked as hell, scary looking. I always remember he had a match with Shawn Michaels in 1996 Survivor Series, Madison Square Garden. Shawn is the baby face. Sid is the heel. The crowd is turned on Shawn Michaels, and they're cheering for Sid. Sid hits Shawn Michaels' manager / trainer with the camera, gives him a heart attack. Crowd is loving it. And then Sid ends Shawn's title reign, which went on for like 6 or 7 months. And yeah, that was a big night. I remember that. And then Sid wins the title from Bret Hart in 97 after Bret holds the belt for 24 hours after the Final Four. And then, man, there's so many. There's that one segment. I don't know if you remember. You might have seen it on a Botchamania episode once, where Sid is like his car is like totaled or something or crushed, and he's like, "Why me?
Yeah.
Why me?
Goldberg." Yeah.
There's the infamous story about him about to have a fight with Brian Pillman, and then Sid like leaves the room and comes back with a squeegee as a weapon. I don't know if you heard that story or not, but
I think I did. Yeah. I had forgot about the car spot until you mentioned it, but yeah, it's so clear to me now, like that spot, because he goes out and he's like, "Oh my God."
yeah. And then the injury that pretty much ended his career is also one of the most gruesome injuries I've ever seen. Do you remember?
Yep.
Sid's ankle snapping in half?
Yeah, I think he was wrestling Scott Steiner, and he went off of the second rope in the corner, I guess to do a drop kick.
Big boot.
To do a big, he was trying to do a big boot off of the turnbuckle, which is, that probably wasn't the best idea. Because he had to land with the other foot, but when he landed with the other foot, he was sort of at an angle, and his weight just cracked his leg, like his basically his shin bone right in half, and it was just like hanging there.
His ankles flopping. It was like I said,
bad.
One of the most gruesome injuries I've ever seen.
So bad. But I think, Vic, that it's sort of bittersweet, him going into the Hall of Fame, because we just lost Sid a couple of years ago, maybe even a year ago. It's not been long since Sid passed away. And I kind of hate whenever they decide to put somebody in the Hall of Fame after they're dead, especially if, like, it goes without saying, there's some people that just deserve it and deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And maybe they've been dead for 20 years, and that's understandable. But they couldn't have fit Sid in 2 or 3 years ago when he was still up walking around. They have to wait until a couple of years after he's dead. So it's sort of bittersweet that he's not here to be able to enjoy it, because I'm sure he would have been ecstatic and would have cut an incredible promo like he always did. We're live, pal, by the way. But
so many memories. See, there's so many memories of Sid.
He's like, "Oh man, can we start that? We're live, pal."
We're live, though. You and I quote that all the time on this show.
And he goes right back to it. But Sid was, he might have been a little bit of an idiot, but man, and I heard one, I don't remember who said it, but somebody said that, like, if you were to design the perfect professional wrestler, like the embodiment of the look of what you would want a professional wrestler to be, it would be Sid Vicious. And that's right, man. Look at that guy.
He looked like a Greek god.
He's a monster. He's just a big
Yeah.
dumb monster. But he's still a monster.
And he probably would have won that '92 Royal Rumble if Hulk didn't grab his hand and pull him out, allowing Ric Flair to sneak up behind.
I don't agree with that. Hulk was out. Nobody should get eliminated by somebody outside of the ring. I think that's garbage. So yeah.
But what's funny about that one is when Hulk gets eliminated by Sid, the crowd pops.
Yeah.
And then every replay they piped in boos. Yet you still see the crowd jumping up on their feet
and booing. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So anyway, well deserved, way overdue. WWE, you should have did this a few years ago.
Yes.
Where was the induction for Sid when he was still alive? Because I would have really, really loved to seen his reaction to being put in the Hall of Fame. But nonetheless deserved. I mean, it wasn't a matter of if, but when. So it's finally happening. So congratulations to Sid Vicious finally going into the 2026 WWE Hall of Fame, as well as Dennis Rodman. Can't wait to see his promo. Can't wait to see what he looks like when he comes out, because he's always wearing something crazy or doing something wild. Hopefully he follows suit.
I'm sure.
But who inducts Dennis Rodman? Does Michael Jordan induct Dennis Rodman? How hard would you pop if...
That would be awesome. I highly doubt it's going to happen, but if Hulk was around, I think Hulk would be a good choice because the NWO connection.
Yeah.
Maybe Eric Bischoff. I don't know if they want to. If
maybe. Yeah, maybe Eric Bischoff. I don't think there's a lot of bad blood between them.
There's no bad blood at all. I think it's just, does WWE want to use Eric Bischoff for this?
Yeah.
I don't know. Or does Rodman, how much say does Rodman have in who inducts him?
Well, that's the thing. I would hope that he has all the say.
Yeah.
Because even Cornette, like we talked about Dennis Condrey earlier in the Midnight Express, they're not in the Hall of Fame. The Rock and Roll Express is in the Hall of Fame, and they had Cornette induct them. Cornette should be in the Hall of Fame. The Midnight should be in the Hall of Fame, but they're not. So, I don't know if it's a matter of, if somebody's going in, I think that they should get their pick, and I'm not sure if, unless it's something really bad, you know what I mean? Like, unless it's somebody that is just an absolute no. But,
Yeah. What about Sid? Who inducts Sid? That's a tough one too. I'm trying to think of memorable feuds. I mean, there was Hogan. Hogan's gone.
What about Shawn?
Shawn is a possibility. I don't think Bret's going to do it.
Yeah.
Hell, even Nash. Nash might even be an option. But I think Taker is also an option if he wants to do it. I don't think Taker will do it though. I think Taker. He inducted his wife, but that's because it's his wife.
Who did Sid Vicious have most of his feuds with in WCW? Because WWE, it was like he was immediately in the upper echelon title picture, but he really wasn't in WWE for a very long time, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then he was off to WCW. So,
who
did he have the most interaction with that would be able to, because you got to think, obviously he doesn't have a say-so, but you would want somebody who has memories of him that can tell stories of Sid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The ones that come to mind is Goldberg, and
I don't know if they'll
you know,
have him there because he's a little bitter over the,
yeah.
the Saturday
I
Night's
mean,
main event thing.
and the other one was, as I mentioned earlier, would be Nash. But
Yeah.
here's another thing: pre WWF, we're talking late '80s. Sid was a member of the Four Horsemen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not the original,
Wow.
obviously, but he was a member of the Four Horsemen at one point. Let's see. I got it up right here. I should have this more.
Slick Vic's on that dial-up connection, ladies and gentlemen. He's it's not his fault.
Yeah, Sid Vicious did join the Four Horsemen at one point. Let's see. Blair, Arn, Ole, and longtime rival Sting formed a group.
So he had something to do with, well, no, I was about to say, well, Sting? Sting, he didn't have that many run-ins with Sting, did he?
No, but there was the famous story about Arn Anderson and a pair of scissors. I don't know if you heard about that one.
I'm not sure.
No, it's we won't
Try
go
to
too
kill
deep into. Yeah, they had a fight once, and a pair of scissors were used, and one person got stabbed a bunch of times by the other with the pair of scissors. But on a more lighthearted topic,
I doubt he'll be the one to induct him then.
yeah, in was it maybe 90 Halloween Havoc 90 and Halloween Havoc 91, Elvira did an ad for Halloween Havoc with Sid Vicious. No joke. Maybe Elvira will come and induct him.
There you go.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine a better Hall of Fame. This would go down as Slick Vic's greatest Hall of Fame ever if it had Elvira, Dennis Rodman. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Well, we'll have to wait and find out, I guess.
we will wait and find out. The 2026 WWE Hall of Fame. Let's see. I'm not sure if it's actually the day. Is it the day before? Well, April 17th. So yeah, April 17th, 2026. That's a Friday. So we've got Friday, the Hall of Fame. They're following suit here.
I believe it's right after SmackDown, which is going to be really late. So,
God, I hate that for them too, because last year they were all like falling asleep in the crowd and stuff.
yeah.
Maybe they'll do SmackDown real early in the day. That would be better for the people at the Hall of Fame. Also, it didn't help that Triple H went like 2 hours in his promo. But April 17th, Friday, April 17th, and then of course WrestleMania the next night and the night after that. AJ Styles, Stephanie McMahon, Axe and Smash Demolition, and now Dennis Rodman and Sid Vicious, all going into the Hall of Fame. So it should be a good one. Anxious to see who inducts all of these people into the Hall of Fame. Slick Vic, here's a question for you. Next year's WrestleMania is in Saudi Arabia. What are the chances that they actually have the Hall of Fame in Saudi Arabia?
I think it's really high.
I think it's 0.
Yeah. Where would they do it? They do it back in the States?
I'm leaning towards them having the Hall of Fame night in the United States. And then you know how they always bring out the Hall of Famers on WrestleMania night to stand on the stage? There's no way they're flying these people out to Saudi Arabia because, you know, like half of them are going to be, they probably don't want to go. They're probably like old and like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. So it raises a question as to, I think they'll probably do it in the States. We'll make an early prediction right now. I'm going to say they do the Hall of Fame next year in the United States. Of course, Mania is going to be in Saudi Arabia, but Vic, you say that they're going to have the Hall of Fame in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, there's some really deep pockets in Saudi Arabia to draw people over who don't want to go.
I think it's just the trip that they wouldn't want to make. a lot of these
Yeah.
old timers and stuff.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe for once, like the Hall of Fame is not live, where it's like they do like a pre-recording in the States a few days before, and they just air it.
Yeah.
When they would normally air it, but it's still it would have been like recorded in the States.
I'm all for that. I think they should do that because they shouldn't be having the Hall of Fame at like 9 and 10 o'clock at night. That's kind of silly. Because these people, they have all of the wrestlers present, so they got to do SmackDown, and then they got to go get dressed up for the Hall of Fame, and then they got to get a couple hours of sleep, and then go perform at the biggest show of the year. Like, it's a lot all at once.
Yeah.
I think last year, they should have learned their lesson from that last year. So, anyway, that's the Hall of Fame. That's recent news, and that's taken up a big chunk of the show today, recent news has. Slick Vic, why don't you say we take a pause for the cause, come back, and talk about some SmackDown and Raw?
That sounds good to me.
All right, we'll be right back in a few moments. All right, everybody, we're back from that pause for the cause, and now we're going to be bringing you some weekly reviews, WWE, SmackDown, and Raw from this past week. And Slick Vic, if you would, go ahead and take it away with Friday Night SmackDown.
Yes, sir. Friday Night SmackDown, March the 20th in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Woo!
We're in Flair country.
Woo!
Thank you.
Sorry, I was a little bit late on that. I got a lot of
All right,
sounds
so-
to scroll through over here.
Right away, Wade Barrett and Joe Tess are admonishing Randy for his actions last week. Randy's not getting booed. We see Jelly Roll arrive. We're going to see Jelly Roll a lot tonight. And then Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu or I should say Drew McIntyre is beating down Jacob Fatu while pulling him out of a car that was been wrecked. And when I watched this, they had blurred out the blood on Jacob's head. I don't know if you were watching this live or not, but
I was watching it live, and I didn't notice a blur, though. So maybe it was after the fact. Yeah.
They must have done that, yeah. Drew comes out of the ring, and he's still mad about not main eventing WrestleMania. Nick Aldis comes out and curses out Drew. Jacob comes out, and they continue fighting, with Jacob getting the better of it and splashing Drew through the announce table. So then we got a match. We got Damian Priest and R-Truth versus the MFT. Did you get all that? Because I botched that thing like crazy. Watch me. Anyways. Freebird rules in effect here, where Tama Tonga and JC Mateo are teaming up. But the rest of the MFT are here anyways. And they immediately get involved in the match. R-Truth is still doing Ron Cena. And he hits a stone cold stunner on Tama, who sells it like he's, like a fish out of water or something. It's great. The Wyatt Six come out to brawl with the rest of the MFT, including a mandible claw from Uncle Howdy to Solo Sikoa. Back in the ring, Truth hits an attitude adjustment on JC for the win and the tag team titles. All right, so I'm not crazy about the titles being on these two. As I said over the weeks, that there's a solid tag team division on SmackDown, but the tag team titles themselves are not being taken seriously.
Yeah. They just created this tag team not long ago, and all of a sudden they're putting the titles on them. It is kind of weird how they did that when they could already have built this around just about any. I mean, look, you got the Machine Guns, you've got the MFT were already
The Wyatts,
champion, the Wyatts.
You got the Fraxium.
Mm-hmm.
You got some solid teams here.
You got some good options, but they decided to put it on. I wasn't really upset because I'm like, well, hell yeah, R-Truth. We haven't really seen him lately. They decided to keep him around. This is good. They're going to start using him. All right, cool. But, yeah, the other side of that coin is a little dirty.
Backstage, the Bella Twins say they're going to win the tag titles tonight. Charlotte and Alexa interrupt with ice cream pints in hand. Charlotte says, of course, you would jump the line to get to the tag team titles, which is freaking ironic as all hell that Charlotte says that.
Yeah, for sure.
Charlotte is totally healing it up here to Alexa. Anyways, Candice LeRae is still tending to Johnny Gargano when Danhausen shows up. She asks if he can help him. Danhausen requests $20, so Candice pickpockets Johnny and gives Danhausen the 20. But Danhausen disappears before he does anything.
Oh.
And then the Motor City Machine Guns show up, and Shelley tries to counsel Candice. Sabin pulls him away and tells him to focus. And then we see Danhausen scurrying in the background. I don't know if you caught that one, but I don't know if we were supposed to see that or not. But it's very much like those. I don't know if you've ever seen those like Skeletor memes where he's like, "Until we meet again."
He runs away. Yeah,
yeah. Like, remember, he like says a fact, and then "Until we meet again." I freaking love that shit.
Yeah.
All right, so we see various fan reactions to Orton's attack on Cody Rhodes, including podcasters, and I'm like, where the hell were we?
Yeah, no, where were we? The top podcast in the world, and they didn't get our reactions?
I know, seriously. This is the greatest duo in podcasting right now, man. And it's not just us saying that, other people are saying it.
Sports Illustrated is saying it. The Bleacher
Report is saying it. Yeah, so Sami Zayn doesn't know what to make of the whole situation when Trick Williams comes in and says, when life gives you lemons, you put on your lemon pepper steppers and mind your business while grown folks were talking. They tease a future match, but Trick has to check his Palm Pilot. Do you remember Palm Pilots?
Yeah, a little, vaguely, yeah.
That was kind of an interesting, I want to say deep cut, but Palm Pilots were like a precursor to smartphone minus the ability to call, just like a pocket or like an electronic pocket organizer. That's all.
Yeah, yeah.
The cool kids had them.
Yeah, I didn't have one.
All right, I didn't either. But I was still cool. Anyways, Fraxium versus the Motor City Machine Guns. The action is fast and furious. Nathan Frazier is very fast. Nice suplex, super kick combo from Fraxium. But I'm not crazy about the ending here. The Guns win when Candice LeRae sucker punches Frazier and Sabin just rolls him up for the pin. Man, I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't want to be punched in the face by Candice LeRae either, but that seemed like a pretty flat ending.
Yeah, yeah. Cheap way out for the Guns. You know, we think of the Guns on a higher level. They should be able to get it done on their own.
You know, other than that, the match was short, fun, and pretty much what I expected. But I wouldn't have minded if these two teams actually went on for another 2 or 3 minutes because it was a fairly short match. What about you? What do you think of the Machine Guns and Fraxium?
I'm in the same boat, really. I mean, we mentioned just a few minutes ago, these are some established tag teams at this point in the division, and I want to see more of that. I want to see it grow. I want to see them actually book these teams well and build up the tag team division better. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good match until that ended.
All right. So Randy Orton comes out and sits in a chair. Says he loves putting smiles on people's faces, but it's the most empty feeling in his entire life. When Cody said he needed Orton to be the best version of himself, Randy listened to the voices. And then Orton started quoting his theme song and then says he's going to beat Cody at WrestleMania to a large pop from the crowd. Then after that, immediately backstage, after that, Randy bumps into Matt Cardona, and Matt questions Orton's actions, which earns him a beatdown along with a big Mark-ass stooge insult.
Yeah. Indie nerd.
Yeah. All right, so we got a match. We got Aleister Black versus Sami Zayn. Sammy's got a lot of aggression here, maybe even ruthless aggression. Aleister hits his trademark strikes. And then Trick Williams is also here. He throws a drink at Sammy, which results in a beatdown. And then back in the ring, Aleister hits Black Mask, shrugs, and then pins Sammy for the win. The match is nothing special, but Aleister getting some wins is a good thing finally. Trick is entertaining as always. And Sammy's eventually going to crack. They're really going to delay this for a while. We'll see how long, but that was that. Any thoughts on Randy Orton's promo or this match?
You know, the Randy Orton thing, I thought that was kind of funny in a way, but at the same time, I'm like, oh man, they're just gonna serve up poor old Matt Cardona to him. The match, whenever he got distracted and then came back in the ring and ate the black mass, he shrugged his shoulders. He was saying, "Sammy, Sammy, Sammy," and then he pinned him. So yeah, I mean, this is good for Aleister Black being a heel. He doesn't care to take a win off a distraction. It doesn't hurt him. None doesn't hurt how he looks. It's good that he picked up a win. And yeah, I think you're right. Sammy's going to crack. I said it months ago. He needs to turn heel, and we're seeing it happen. I think it'll happen probably either at the very latest by WrestleMania. But I'm thinking before, because we need to set up a match for him at Mania. And so I think that him turning heel on someone is going to be the result of that match getting made. I don't know who yet. I have no prediction for that as of yet. But
same. So Matt Cardona wants a match with Randy Orton tonight, but Nick Aldis tells him, nah. Carmelo finds out that he's going to face Ilya Dragunov tonight, and he turns around and there he is, and they have a nice little face-off. And it's not really nice, but they have a face-off. And then we got a video package on the Irresistible Forces. They taunt several of the women's division, and I still think we're getting a multi-women's tag team match at WrestleMania.
Yep. You called that. You made that prediction in the very first night that we did the predictions, and you're still locked in for that.
Yep.
I agree.
Jade Cargill comes out and calls out Rhea Ripley, who comes out to a monster pop. Rhea doesn't want to talk anymore. Jade doesn't need the fans or is here to make any friends. Rhea says she needs this. She wants the title, and welcome to the big leagues. Rhea wants Jade to hit her, but Jade leaves. But then out comes B-Fab and Michin, who look like they're about to send Jade back into the ring, but instead, those two go after Rhea Ripley. And then the three of them take out Rhea. Is this one of those can't beat them, join them things?
I think so, yeah. I didn't really care for this segment. I thought it was weird. You know, it didn't make my foresight turn in any certain direction here. It's like, why is this the way that they're going to go? Jade's going to say she doesn't need wrestling. Wrestling needs her. And they did all this. I didn't like it. I thought it was in bad taste. I thought it was a bad way to turn her back heel after she was already on course to become a decent heel going into this, talking shit online. And then they backstepped and destroyed that. Now here we are again. And then she's got some cronies. So, yeah,
that's exactly it. She's got cronies for Rhea to beat up en route to WrestleMania. That's all it really is.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's all it is. All right, backstage, The Miz tells Kit Wilson all the bad things that have been happening to him lately, and then in pops in Danhausen, who offers to be their muscle, which they reject. So Danhausen says, "Fine, stay cursed," and then leaves. And then a ladder falls on The Miz.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I don't know if you found it as humorous as I did, but
yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
All right, Solo Sikoa, that is big mad that the MFT lost the tag titles, as he should be. And then Tama very calmly tells Solo, "Give the lantern back to the Wyatts." Because he's not acting like himself. He's acting like Roman Reigns.
Uh-oh.
Which Solo's eyes bulge out of his head when he says that. It was good stuff. Then Solo, before Solo can respond, here comes Jacob and Drew to start brawling near them. You know, Jacob's a former member of the MFT, or the Bloodline 2.0, so to speak.
Yeah.
But, you know, they didn't step in or anything. All right, so then we get the news that we talked about earlier today. Dennis Rodman is going into the WWE Hall of Fame. As a Chicagoan, I approve. And also remember, Mosley, when you're NWO, your NWO for life. All right, we got another match here. We got for the sixth or seventh time, Ilya Dragunov versus Carmelo Hayes for the U.S. title. Okay, I don't have a lot to say about this because I feel like I've called this match like 7 or 8 times. But anyways, there was a
before you get into that, what if they get Phil Jackson to induct Dennis Rodman?
I mean, hey, I'd be fine with that.
That motherfucker should have showed up for practice, but here we are.
Oh man, the Zen master himself, Phil Jackson. That'd be great. All right. So there's a spot where Carmelo hits a flip over the top, but then lands rib first into the announcer's table, which I thought really hurt him because that looked pretty devastating.
It was bad looking, yeah.
Torpedo Moscow countered into the first 48 was smooth. But I feel like I've talked about, like I said, I talked about these two like half a dozen times at this point. It's a good match. They've put out good matches each time, but it's just no heat anymore. It's Dragunov saying he needs to go find the warrior within the last 2 weeks. Did nothing for me. Nothing. Not a thing.
Dragunov is really dragging on here lately and dragging the rest of us with it.
I see exactly what you did there.
Yeah.
All right. So, backstage, Jelly Roll congratulates R-Truth and Priest on their win, and then bumps into Randy Orton. Randy Orton apologizes to Jelly for pushing him last week. Jelly Roll sympathizes with him and gives Randy a pep talk, including how much Randy means to this place, which I thought was actually really good. Great line where Jelly Roll says, I don't know if it's the voices in your head or somebody in your ear, but I know the real Randy. This was good stuff from Jelly Roll. I actually really liked Jelly Roll here, and he was here. He was, like I said, Jelly Roll was all over the show tonight, and he was good. At least I thought he was good. I'll get your thoughts in a moment. But in the end, it ends with Jelly telling Randy to go find Matt Cardona and do the right thing. So we've seen Jelly Roll quite a few times so far. Are you a fan of Jelly Roll's appearances so far, or are you kind of like he can just roll the hell out of here?
I'm not as sold on him right now as I think that when he was there for SummerSlam and he was doing the whole thing, especially with them focusing on him during Unreal Season 2, was great. And him being involved in SummerSlam, obviously we're heading towards him being involved in WrestleMania, but I can't say that I'm that excited about it. I don't know. It's just...
Okay.
You know.
All right. Well, I'm going to disagree with you because I've got a lot of notes in this next segment. This is my favorite part of the night.
It was a good segment, don't get me wrong, and I enjoyed it as well. It just, at this point, I don't really... They're going to put Jelly Roll in a match, and at this point, I'm not really excited to see that. But yeah, the segment was awesome.
I'm talking about the next segment.
Yeah, the segment coming up.
Yeah, with Kit Wilson.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious.
The promo in the ring, yeah.
So yeah, Kit Wilson comes out. He calls out Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll comes out, and he wants a match right now, but Kit Wilson says he didn't want to fight with his fists. He wanted to fight with words. Jelly Roll says, you called me all the way out here to have a rap battle? Kit says, no, it's slam poetry.
Okay.
And then pulls out a book, which causes Jelly Roll to lose his mind.
You brought a book?
I'm not going to go. Yeah, you brought a book. I'm not going to go over the Kit Wilson's insults, but they were fun. And the best part is Jelly Roll selling these insults like he was like the facial expressions he was making, like God damn, he was. I thought Jelly Roll sold that perfectly. Like this motherfucker just said that. I can't believe this shit is. I don't know. I thought it was funny. And then surprisingly, Kit Wilson gets the best of it because at the end, when Jelly Roll gets his comeback, Kit Wilson just beats him up and then leaves scot-free.
Yeah.
But there's more to it than that because afterwards there's a segment with Nick Aldis and Jelly Roll demands a match with Kit Wilson, and Aldis makes it official next week. Jelly Roll, I think he makes his SmackDown debut against Kit Wilson.
There we go.
All right. Also, more seeds are planted for an eventual Julia versus Tiffany Stratton match. In fact, it's announced later on in the night that next week, Julia and Tiffany Stratton will face for the women's U.S. title. Meanwhile, Alba Fire wheels Chelsea Green into the frame and then gets pushed out of the frame. It's funny. It's good stuff. All right. Now, for the final match of the evening, we got the Irresistible Forces versus the Bella Twins for the women's tag team titles. All right. So the Yes Kicks by Brie got a nice pop. Yeah, I even popped for it too. Nikki locking in the STFU was questionable. Like, why? You got Ron Cena doing John Cena's shtick, and you're doing the STFU.
I think that Nikki got a pop out of doing it before, so she's kind of relying on it now to get a reaction.
Okay. Well, it certainly didn't work in Raleigh.
No.
Okay. Charlotte and Alexa are here, and they get involved, causing a DQ finish. So the match, I will say this, the match wasn't terrible, but not good either. I just don't particularly care for either team. Unless you've got something to say, I'm moving on.
Look, admittedly, and I told you this before we went on the air, I checked out whenever this match started. I watched SmackDown all the way up until this point. I looked at the time. I was like, okay, this is the main event. This is how SmackDown ends. I'll see what Slick Vic has to say about it on the podcast. I don't really care. I checked out. And I know I missed the end segment after this, but yeah, that's when I checked out. So no, I don't have anything on it.
Let me catch you up to this. But do you remember last week Randy was talking on the phone to somebody we don't know who it was?
Yeah.
There was a short little conversation with Randy talking on his cell phone to somebody. I wonder who it'll be.
Still haven't revealed.
No clues either this week to further, theorize who it was.
Mm-hmm.
But he comes to the ring and he's doing a very babyface entrance. He's high-fiving every single kid in the aisleway, like good guy high-fiving them. And then Randy calls out Matt Cardona. Matt comes out and Randy's like, action figures are cool. And he admits to playing video games and asks Matt for forgiveness. They hug it out. And then Randy kicks him in the balls and gives him an RKO. Tears his shirt off and proceeds to beat him. Now, this is becoming a thing where Randy's like tearing people's shirts off.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful. But up until then, it was good. But then it got really stupid because there's like 10 officials trying to stop Randy from beating up Matt. And they're doing jack shit, but just saying, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Like, why not, hold him, push him, like gang up on him and hold him back or whatever. No, they're just kind of like, no, don't do it. And it was fucking bad.
Yeah.
But then Matt, what's it called? Matt's arm or I should say Randy Pillmanizes Cardona's arm and he's about to step on. And that's when they finally like stop him for a second because then Randy eventually just does it anyways. Oh. And then guess what happens? The crowd is cheering the whole time.
Yeah.
There's Randy chants, and then after he steps on the chair, the crowd is chanting one more time. So then
That's crazy. What?
Yeah.
Where does Matt go from here? Is he going to be in a cast now, and then that's going to be the reason he misses WrestleMania? Is he got his arm destroyed, or does he come back and cost Randy the match ultimately?
Him and Chelsea should both have, gimmicked injuries. Chelsea's in a wheelchair. Matt's got like a cast on his arm. It'd be funny.
Yeah. But they've kept them apart on screen.
Yeah.
So.
But then the show ends with Drew and Jacob still fighting. This time, they're outside fighting over some high balcony behind a fence. I don't know if they're outside or not, but They both fall off it, and we don't see where they land. But we just assume it looked devastating. That's it. That was SmackDown from Raleigh, North Carolina.
All right. So those two fought for about 3 hours.
Pretty much 3 hours.
All right, well, good stuff. Well, it seems like I missed the best part of the show at the end, but like I said, I checked out during that women's tag match. I'd had enough by that point. But thank you, Slick Vic, for that enthralling review of Friday Night SmackDown from March the 20th. Shall we move on to some Monday Night Raw?
Please go ahead, good sir.
All right, so Monday Night Raw was on March the 23rd, just a mere 24 and maybe 2 or 3 hours ago, and it was at the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. The show opened up with the arrival of Brock Lesnar, and the crowd gives him a massive pop, obviously. He's accompanied by Paul Heyman. Thought it was funny because Lesnar came out wearing a FAF 5 shirt, and my first thought was, well, that didn't take long. Heyman talks about Oba Femi being overhyped and that he took advantage of the distraction from Seth Rollins last week when he attacked Lesnar. Heyman talks about Brock's various accolades and ends with saying Oba will be conquered by Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And then, of course, the lights go out. Oba Femi's music hits. He comes marching down to the ring in usual fashion. And he mouths to Lesnar, no excuses now. It's just them two facing off in the ring. Lesnar kicks Oba and lifts him up on his shoulders, but to me it kind of looked like he dropped him because he was too big, like he buckled under the weight, but we saw Lesnar pick up guys way bigger than Oba before, so I think it was supposed to be that Oba just escaped the F5 and clotheslined Lesnar over the top rope, and that was essentially it. Oba got the better of Lesnar for a second week in a row, and that's how we opened up Monday Night Raw. Slick Vic, any thoughts on this?
Well, I loved Heyman's promo. He was talking about all the people that he claimed were going to be the next big thing. He's going through Lesnar's WrestleMania opponents like Undertaker, and then he even mentions Dean Ambrose, which I thought was hilarious. But there's one name he left out. He didn't mention Drew McIntyre. I don't know, because you remember COVID Mania?
Yeah.
He slayed the beast.
Drew beat him. Yep.
Yeah. But then, I thought this was good stuff from Heyman. Oba getting the best of him again is interesting. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, obviously a good way to open the show, get the crowd pumped, Lesnar coming out, and Lesnar probably didn't want to stick around until the end, so they got him in and out right in the beginning. So next up, on Raw, we have a match. This is the Usos versus Logan Paul and Austin Theory. This was a non-title match. And the Vision were in control going into a commercial break, but when we come back from the commercial break, the Usos are in control. Theory and Jay go back and forth, and Theory ends up pulling off one of the top turnbuckle pads while they're fighting. He then goes for a move that looks like Jay turns it into a suplex mid-air, but Theory goes for the pin after, and the announce team are just as confused as me, because whatever they were trying to do, I think it was supposed to be Theory that got the offense off on that, but really it looked like Jay just caught him midair and threw him over into a suplex, so I don't know what was going on. LA Knight heads to the ring and throws some brass knucks in, which Jay gets and uses to knock out Austin Theory in full view of the referee, resulting in a disqualification victory for the Vision. Post-match, Jay runs back in the ring to knock out Logan Paul with the brass knucks as well. So, Logan Paul and Austin Theory win via DQ. Ends up basically being a nothing event, just kind of furthering their little feud they got going on. From that, we have an in-ring segment. Becky Lynch comes out, talks about her own daughter going around singing AJ Lee's theme song, and she talks about murdering the Divas era. AJ Lee comes out and runs to the ring. Becky runs off. AJ cuts a promo on top of the announce desk, says she was the best in her era and is the best in Becky's era. AJ then lays down the challenge to Becky for a match at WrestleMania, putting the Women's Intercontinental title on the line. So that match is locked in. I think that was on the predictions last week. Women's IC
Sure
title,
was.
AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch. Been confirmed for this week. All right. Then we have a backstage segment where it's basically nothing. LA Knight and the Usos are walking backstage and have some words about the Roman Reigns deal. Knight tells Jay he's even starting to sound like Roman Reigns, and Jay gets pissed off. Slick Vic, any thoughts on these segments and the match? The Usos versus the Vision.
Well, Becky is right when she said she made the title, and then she murdered the Divas division was a great line. Mm-hmm. And entertaining stuff from her and AJ. I enjoyed it. The match itself between the Vision and the Usos, not much to say about that, really. But I do like I do. I was curious the whole when LA Knight was telling Jay, hey, you're starting to sound like Roman. Is that such a bad thing? That guy has main evented how many WrestleManias now?
Yeah.
It's like this happened with Solo. Like Tama called Solo, or he compared Solo to Roman. I'm like, is that such a bad thing? Like, isn't this guy like the most successful wrestler ever at this point, or what?
Definitely over the last decade, I would say. So yeah, but they take it. It's a backhanded. It's a backhanded compliment, I think, in a way where they're meaning it to be offensive, but really it's not that offensive. So yeah, I get what you say. But yeah, like you mentioned with the Becky thing, Becky was firing on all cylinders during that promo. I mean, she did great. That was a great promo. Definitely recommend if nobody watched, or if you didn't watch that, not if nobody watched it, but if you didn't catch that, go back and watch it. She did really good. All right, so next up we have a match. This is Javon Evans versus Grayson Waller, and of course Kofi Kingston is ringside. He's been trying to recruit Javon Evans to the New Day lately, and Grayson Waller, who hasn't officially been made a member in the New Day, is trying to prove himself here. And we get the fast-paced action to start it out, like is pretty much expected. Several counters until Javon hits a drop kick and head scissors, Dragon Rana, whatever you want to call it, throwing Waller across and outside the ring. Then Javon follows up with a flying dive to Waller on the outside and nearly lands directly on his head. But he pops right back up like it was nothing. When that happened, I cringed. I was like, "Oh man, that looked bad." Other than a couple brief moments of offense from Grayson Waller, Javon controls pretty much the rest of the match. Into the match sees Javon hit a super Hurricane Rana from the top turnbuckle, followed by an OG cutter for the win. After this, we have a backstage segment leading to an in-ring segment, and this one is pretty lengthy. Paul Heyman is backstage. He asks Adam Pearce to schedule a match next week for the Usos versus Logan Paul and Austin Theory with the World Tag Titles on the line and make it a street fight. Pearce says Heyman has definitely given him something to consider, and Heyman momentarily loses his shit. He then sends Heyman to the ring to air his grievances against Seth Rollins. Says the time is now. So Heyman goes out to the ring, and he talks about not having anyone to hide behind anymore. He talks about how half of the Vision is hurt and doesn't know when they're going to be back, and the other half just got their ass kicked earlier. And he also says he has a stalker named Seth freaking Rollins. He says maybe it's time Seth comes out to put him out of his misery. And sure enough, Rollins heads to ringside through the crowd with no music, complete with his black outfit and mask. He hops up on the announce table, takes his mask off, and then Heyman realizes he's standing right there. The police show up. 4 cops who are clearly not police officers. They're indie wrestlers dressed as police officers, as is the common theme on WWE. And they go to escort Seth Rollins out. Heyman reveals that he had a restraining order against Rollins. I thought this was weird because would Rollins not know that there's a restraining order put up against him? Like, he would be informed of this, but he acted like he had no clue. As he is walking out, Heyman says some pretty wild stuff about Seth's wife and daughter. He mentions that, he's been within 50 feet of Heyman, so he's going to be going to jail. And while he's in jail, his wife's going to get with everybody on the roster, and his daughter's going to be put into foster care and all this other stuff. And that makes Seth freak out. He breaks away from the police, runs back to the ring, and decks Heyman, who goes down. Police get him and then haul him off. So Heyman made him break there and is seen laughing as the segment ends. So up next is a match, but before we get around to that, Slick Vic, any thoughts on Javon Evans versus Grayson Waller, or this segment, which was really one of the major segments on the entirety of the show with Paul Heyman here?
Well, the match was all right. I mean, it's a good showcase from Javon. He's getting that whole bouncy, yo boy bouncy chant over. And there was one spot I highlighted was that like a flipping unprettier from Grayson Waller? Because that looked pretty good.
Flipping unprettier.
Yeah. But the Heyman's acting and storytelling in his promos are great. I feel like I praise Heyman every week, but he really is a goat. Heyman is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Why is Seth still masked? We all know he's the masked man. I don't know why he's still running around doing that.
I hate this gimmick. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago that I'm hoping that they're done with this, but no, they're really leaning into it. Like, why does he come out masked? He comes out by himself here, even, and It's silly at this point.
Also, him getting cuffed away, it just made me think of Austin getting cuffed, and I'm like, man, I like Seth, but it was so much cooler when Austin would get cuffed away and laughing at the camera.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that stuff.
I do remember it, and I did not draw that comparison when it happened at all. I think because when it happened to Austin, not that it was more believable, but obviously things during that period of time, you could suspend your disbelief a lot easier, whereas now it's like, those are obviously not real cops.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, it's harder to believe these days. After this, ladies and gentlemen, we have a match that I have 0 notes for. That was the Kabuki Warriors versus Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. Lyra Valkyria and Bayley won the match. And I thought, just from memory, it was okay. It was sort of a bathroom break match for the most part, but I thought Lyra did really well. And I think it's interesting that Lyra is really lifting up this tag team. She's the one always getting Bayley to, hey, come on, like, we're awesome, you're awesome, we're going to do good, we're going to go and do all this stuff. And so I think that she's doing really good with what they've given her here. Other than that, though, I don't really have any notes. It wasn't that big a deal. Couple backstage segments follow this. I note stupid backstage segment with Penta and Dragon Lee and ISHO Speed. Another backstage segment saw Danhausen meet ISHO Speed and curse him.
Yes.
Another backstage segment shows Asuka telling Kairi to make it up to her. So, Asuka's pissed. They lost the match. Blah, blah, blah. Io Sky shows up and tells Kairi that she deserves to be treated better. Then Raquel Rodriguez shows up and cuts a promo that sounds like she was reading it from a piece of paper. It wasn't good. But ultimately, she challenged Io to a match next week, which Io accepted. Have I pretty much got the gist of it there, Slick Vic? Any thoughts?
On point. I don't have much to say about the tag match. It just felt run of the mill. Yeah. I remember post match though, they were hyping up the match for next week, and Bayley's like, "We're gonna have the match in Madison Square Garden," and the crowd starts booing that.
She said the most famous, the greatest arena in the world, or the most famous arena in the world. Yeah, and they booed the shit out of it.
Danhausen cursing ISHO Speed was great because who is this guy, dude? I feel like I know I'm in the minority. I don't know who this guy is. Do you know who this guy is?
He's like a YouTuber. He's the guy who got speared out of his fucking soul from Braun Breaker
I remember that
last year.
And I wish Braun was here to spear him again. But
Yeah, me too. Me too.
like, why is he on why is he on WWE TV right now? Besides
I don't know.
promoting whatever.
He's taking up my airtime here.
I'm so glad Danhausen cursed him, Mike. But did anything happen to him after he got cursed?
No, not yet. I don't think anything happened.
Okay.
He was just a really over the top, like, who is this guy? Cursed? What do you mean cursed? So, actually, I think something happened. Maybe I missed it, but there was something that happened about them having a race against each other. Did that happen on Raw?
Wait, who? Between who again?
Show Speed and Danhausen. They have a race.
A race. I don't remember that.
Okay, so maybe that did or did not happen on Raw, but I definitely saw that where it was like Show Speed. He's supposed to be fast, right? So he challenges, or Danhausen challenges him to a race, and they take off, and all of a sudden Danhausen like teleports to the finish line magically, right? And beats him. Anyway, on to more important matters. The Intercontinental Championship match was up next. Penta, the champion, versus Dominic Mysterio, is getting a shot to get his title back. And as Dom and Liv are coming out during Dom's entrance, Stephanie Vaquer jumps Liv and starts beating the shit out of her. Even takes a shot at Dom. And Liv and Vaquer fight into Gorilla until I guess it's broken up. I do want to mention that when Penta comes out here, the Intercontinental Championship looked great on him. I think it looks perfect. And I'm glad he is our Intercontinental Champion. I don't know what part I picked up on this, but I think it was pretty much towards the end. Dom hit a 619 and went to climb the turnbuckle to go for a frog splash. But Finn Balor's music hits. Balor comes out. He takes out JD McDonough, he comes running up the ramp towards him. Dom goes for the splash. But by that time, enough time had passed for Penta to kind of recover. And when Dom hits the splash, Penta turns it into like a roll-up pin and wins the match, retains the title. So there's that. Post-match, Finn Balor attacks Dom in the ring. He hits a flipping splash to JD and Dom on the outside, then continues beating up JD in the ring while Dom retreats through the crowd. After this is the end of Raw. It's an in-ring segment involving CM Punk, and I'm going to summarize this one as I do with a lot of CM Punk promos because, hey, just go watch it. It was good. CM Punk comes out, cuts a promo on the Usos, basically says that they can't do anything without Roman, and it's the same old shtick. Roman can't do anything without them. They can't do anything without him. He says that Roman said one thing that pissed him off last week when he called him old, and we know that's when CM Punk lost it and punched him. He said it's not what he said, but who it came from, and that he's actually proud to be old and still as great as he is. Eventually, Jey Uso comes out to the ring. They act like they're going to fight, but then Jimmy comes down and talks Jey down. Roman's music finally hits, and he comes out. He tells Jimmy and Jey to get out of his ring, which I thought was... I don't like that because like they're coming to his corner, and he's just like shooing them away. Again, it's this asshole Roman thing when they're supposed to be the family and they're there for each other, and he's very dismissive and, hey, get out of my ring. Punk says he better stay because Roman needs the help, and Jey takes offense to this, charges Punk, but catches a right to the jaw and goes down. Reigns runs up, hits a Superman punch to the back of Punk's head. Moments later, he hits a spear on Punk. Ultimately, he ends up powerbombing Punk through the announce table, and that basically ends Monday Night Raw. Vic, any thoughts on the IC title match or this ending segment to Raw?
Well, I thought the first Penta and Dom match was better. This one felt a little sloppy at times. I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it as much. I just wrote down like Dom looked a little off tonight, and just not as exciting. I pretty much suspected that Penta was going to win and Balor was going to return, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see Finn back, and he's full blown babyface now. So that's great. I still think now I think I'm fairly certain we're going to get Demon Balor versus Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania. And the main event promo is all about Punk being old.
Yeah.
Do you remember what he said in that one infamous scrum? He's like, I'm hurt, I'm old, I'm fucking tired, and I work with children.
Yeah, that's when he had enough of AEW.
Yeah, that was funny. And this whole promo was about him being old.
Yeah.
But I didn't like Punk's over the top antics here. Like, he was just like not taking the segment seriously, it felt like. But then he got his ass kicked. So that was good, at least, because Roman beat the shit out of him. And yeah, Punk is laughing at the end, but that's exactly what Roman did the week before.
Yeah.
So I liked it. I'm in. I'm invested. So that's a good thing.
I think most people were already invested in this 2 or 3 weeks ago. They're just kind of, running the course to get to WrestleMania here. This is the biggest match on the card for Mania. So they're just kind of adding more here and there when they don't really need to. Killing time. And who knows what's going to happen? Are we going to see the OG bloodline come back together for this? It certainly seems that way. But
I like seeing the OG bloodline. It's kind of nostalgic, even though it's not that old.
It is, yeah. And, of course, wrestling it had a spark during that time of the OG bloodline. So it's good to see that again and get a little bit hopeful for what was maybe being what could be again. But that was Monday Night Raw, ladies and gentlemen. We got a couple of more segments left here. We're going to talk about some predictions. We're going to do some trivia. Slick Vic, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's talk predictions really quick, because this is something that I have on the docket, but I'll be honest with you, Slick Vic, I don't really have that many predictions for this week. This is the part 3 of the predictions that we've done, and, last week there were a lot of predictions. You had a lot, and one of those matches was confirmed since the prediction was made, and that was the women's IC title of AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. So that's confirmed this week. The only prediction I have, and this may be a bold one, but I think that Lyra Valkyria and Bayley are going to face off against each other at WrestleMania. I think because they're building up this idea, Bayley needs to get to WrestleMania. She's wanting to get to WrestleMania so bad. They're really going the extra mile to be like, we're friends, we're a great team, we're successful. They've got a match coming up against, I think, the women's tag team titles this coming week. I'm not sure if it's on Raw or SmackDown, but it's happening. And unless they win those titles at that match, I think we're heading towards some quick dissension between Lyra and Bayley. And that's how Bayley's going to get her match for Mania. She's just going to lose it eventually. So that's my only prediction this week. Slick Vic, what do you got?
Did I already say Demon Balor versus Dominic last week?
I said Demon Balor versus Dominic
2 weeks ago, 3 weeks
during
ago?
the first one. Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Well,
both of us did. We both agreed that was probably what was going to happen.
I don't know where I'm going to go with. Here's the thing. Jelly Roll. It looks like he's feuding with Kit Wilson now. They're going to have a match next week, so that might tie that up. But what do we do? Because I still think Jelly Roll is going to be involved at WrestleMania somehow. I don't know against who, or if it's going to be a one-on-one or a tag match.
Yeah, why would they bring him back if not... why would they bring him back this close to Mania and not have him at Mania? So,
yeah,
I'm with you. I think that it could have been Jelly Roll versus Kit Wilson at WrestleMania. But, as far as the match next week on SmackDown, or this week on SmackDown rather, I don't think that they're going to have it's not going to be like a definitive match, right? Something's going to happen, and maybe it'll become more clear after whatever happens as to what's going to transpire at WrestleMania. But yeah, Jelly Roll's definitely going to be there, and we talked about that. You said that 2 weeks ago, that there would be a match with Jelly Roll. At the time, you thought that it was going to be a tag match against the Vision, maybe with LA Knight as his partner. It's not really heading that direction.
No, not anymore. So, yeah, I don't have anything else at this time.
Yeah, so sort of a dry week as far as predictions go. They've not really given us much. Hopefully we get some more over the next few days here, because next week's episode of Wrestling with Power, we're going to be looking at card predictions again, and then we have one more week to possibly look at card predictions before we have Slick Vic's picks coming back on episode 36. So next week's 34, then 35, and then Slick Vic's picks. No more predictions. We're going to have the card in our hands, hopefully, by that point. So Slick Vic, all that's left is the main event of the evening, the trivia.
Yeah.
We did this last
Lay
week.
It on me,
It was a big hit. I had a lot of fun. I think Slick Vic had a lot of fun, and we're going to run it back. And Slick Vic, I don't know how long we're going to do this, but I'd say maybe we'll give it a good 15 to 20 minutes worth of trivia here to end the show, end it on a good note. And I gave you the option to pick what you wanted to do last week, and I'll give you the option again this week, but I am going to pick my own a little bit here too. So what say you, Slick Vic? What category do we want to go for here?
Well, what are my options again?
All right, so you got WrestleMania, and of course we know that encompasses several different WrestleManias, I think up to 17 or 18. Raw, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, SmackDown, Survivor Series, and then one of them is pay-per-view, so I'm guessing that's just like the smaller pay-per-views. There's a section called Old School, which is kind of weird because like a lot of this stuff, as you pointed out last week's in chronological order, and most of it's like, starts out with the old school stuff. But there's an old school section to itself. Titles, Outside the Ring is the last one.
Let's do SummerSlam.
Okay. I think that titles one is kind of interesting. We may look at that one too, but SummerSlam, if we scroll to page 65 here in the Ultimate World Wrestling Entertainment Trivia book. SummerSlam. Okay. Let me just peruse over these really quick. Okay, so these are not apparently in chronological order. They're kind of mixed up, which is good, so we don't got to jump around.
Okay.
SummerSlam, and then the answers page over on 277. All right. All right, cool. Slick Vic, let me get my sound bites ready here. We had the clapping last week, and then what was the other one? The laughing. Yeah, clapping and laughing. We're going to be doing a lot of clapping and laughing here. The picture for the SummerSlam is the Dudleys giving a one of those flying headbutt things to somebody's nutsack. It's pretty good. I lost my answers page. 270.
What's up?
Yeah, that thing. All right, Slick Vic. So the category is SummerSlam. Question number 1. SummerSlam has traditionally been held in which month? There are no multiple choices here.
August.
Slick Vic says August. Survey says right. August. Number 2, the Intercontinental Championship changed hands at the first blank SummerSlams. So this is this question is not asking for like a specific year. It's saying the Intercontinental title changed hands at the first how many SummerSlams? Kind of a tough one.
The first 5.
The first 5. Slick Vic says 5. Survey says. All right. Slick Vic got it right there. Wow, that was a tough one, Slick Vic. How'd you figure that one out?
I do remember hearing that the 93 SummerSlam was the first time it didn't happen. So
Okay.
I just counted SummerSlams pre-93.
Sweet. All right. Number 3, out of the first 14 SummerSlams, how many times did the Intercontinental champion successfully defend his title?
Oh, God.
So there's one for you. So the first 14 SummerSlams, how many times did the IC champion retain?
God. Oh, man. Let me think. This is going to require a little bit of concentration.
The answer may surprise you. That's a lot of SummerSlams. First 14, it says. So we know that we can already nix the first 5, right? Because you said that was question 2.
No, there was only 1. Then the answer is 1.
Okay, one time, and the first out of the first 14 SummerSlams, how many times? One time, right? All right, Slick Vic, let's see. Survey says. Oh, I'm sorry, Slick Vic, you missed that one, unfortunately. You were close, though. You were close. You were close. Answer is
2?
twice.
Twice.
It doesn't elaborate. It just says twice.
Okay.
All right, so let's take a look. Question number 4. SummerSlam 2002 took place at Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, New York. What was the last WWE pay-per-view to take place there? The last WWE pay-per-view to take place there. So,
the Nassau Coliseum?
Yeah, what was the last one to take place there? Yeah.
No idea.
That's kind of a weird one because okay, I see what it's saying. It's not talking about after. It's talking about before SummerSlam 2002. What?
Oh.
Yeah, so it's worded kind of weird, but I looked at the answer, and so this is talking before. So SummerSlam 2002 taking place at Nassau Coliseum. What was the last pay-per-view to take place there before that?
I'm going to go with the first one, 88.
So SummerSlam 88? Slick Vic, I'm sorry, but we got to do it to you one more time. We got to give you the laughing. The laughing. That laughing reminds me of when you don't get a high enough score in the Resident Evil 4 shooting game, and they laugh at you. The answer was actually WrestleMania 2.
Okay.
The more you know. The more you know. We'll take a look at question 5, and then we'll move on to a different category. Out of the first 15, which SummerSlam was the most attended?
What kind of questions are these?
These are tough. These are tough.
Out of the first 15, which one was the most attended?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Oh, okay. Wembley Stadium, 92.
Slick Vic, you got that one right. Good call. Wembley Stadium. As Road Warrior Hawk said.
Yep. I'm so glad you remember that story.
Good job, man. Nice call on that one. All right, so there was 5 questions. Do you want to go one more? Or you want to move on to a different category, Slick Vic?
Let's do another category. Let's do the one with the titles.
I like that. I think that we'll move on to titles. So titles is 219 and then 303. So 219 and 303. Oh, this is cool. It's got some old school pictures here. It's got Bob Backlund wearing the big green. Oh, there's pictures involved in this. This might be. Yeah, well, okay. So we're gonna have to probably skip over the first few questions. And I'll tell you why right now in just a second, Slick Vic. What in the hell? Where is the answers? Having a lot of trouble, Slick Vic. Okay, here we go. So this is broken up into different sections. And so the first few questions, it's got pictures. I don't know if you can see them, but it's got pictures here, right?
Okay, yeah, I see them.
So and you'll notice that it has blank spaces underneath the pictures, and what it says is all these Federation superstars have won championship gold. Name them. It's asking you to name the people in those pictures. So it's kind of, and I know it's probably a little bit difficult to see. So we're going to skip over those. There's actually 20 of those. And go right into the next category. Now, this is broken up into categories. You got World Championship, Tag Team, European, Light Heavyweight, Hardcore, Women's, and then multiple championships. So we'll take a few from each one. Start with the World Championship. Slick Vic. Here we go. In what city did Buddy Rogers defeat Antonio Rocca to become the first WWE World Champion?
New York City.
All right, let me see here, Slick Vic. That is definitely one of the options. I'm sorry I didn't give you your options. Let me go over your options. So A is New York, New York. B is London, England. C is Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And D is Albany, New York.
I'm going to stick with New York, New York.
All right, stick with New York, New York. Slick Vic. I got to say, people are they're laughing at you here, man. They're laughing because the answer is, and this is sort of tricky. The answer was actually Rio de Janeiro in Brazil.
There's a lot of geographical questions here. I'm just saying.
There is. They're tougher this time. They're coming down on you. It's pretty tough. Let's see. The World Championship has changed hands in all these cities except...
What is with these geographical questions?
I'll find you a new one next, but right now so your choices: A, Miami, Florida; B, Dayton, Ohio; C, Nashville, Tennessee; D, Buffalo, New York. Which one of those cities has the WWF title, WWE title, not changed hands in? Miami, Dayton, Nashville, and Buffalo.
Go to Miami.
It's going to say Miami, Florida, and the answer, actually, Slick Vic, is... The answer, Slick Vic, is maybe surprising. It's Buffalo, New York.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah, that's one. All right, let me see. Let's skip around a little bit here. How about that? It's enough of the World Championship. I want you to get a few right. All right, let's take a look at the Intercontinental Championship. How about that? Intercontinental title, the IC title. And the first question, the tournament, this is going back a little bit, but I think that you might be able to get these first couple if you think about it just a moment. The first one, the tournament to decide the first Intercontinental Champion, was held in which South American city?
I actually know the answer.
All right, you've got choices, but what do you think it is?
Rio de Janeiro.
Rio de Janeiro is D. That is definitely an option here. Let's flip to the back and see. And Slick Vic, for that, you get the clap. How do you feel about getting the clap, Slick Vic? It's a good feeling, right?
I'd rather shit in my hands and clap.
Here's an easy one for you. The question directly after that. The man who won that tournament was
Pat Patterson.
All right, Slick Vic. Good job. Pat Patterson. Good job, Slick Vic. Easy couple there out of the gate for you. And may stump you with this one, and then we'll move on. But actually, you know what? Let's move down. Maybe you will actually. This one's kind of interesting. It's number 66. Match the following superstars with the men they defeated for the Intercontinental Championship. Okay. So there's 4 of them, and so you got A, Ricky Steamboat, B, the Mountie, C, Jesse James, and D, Diesel. Then you have number 1, Bret Hart, 2, Razor Ramon, 3, Val Venus, and 4, Randy Savage. So you're going to take one of the letters and match them to the numbers. Who did Ricky Steamboat defeat for the Intercontinental title?
Randy Savage.
This is like a 4 for 1. They're kind of cheating you out of 4 different questions here. Let's see. Ricky Steamboat, Randy Savage. Yes, you got that one right, but you still got a ways to go, Slick Vic. B, the Mountie. Who'd the Mountie beat?
Bret Hart.
The Mountie beat Bret Hart. You're right. C, Jesse James.
What are my 2 final choices?
Randy Savage or Val Venus?
Well, I already put Randy Savage for Ricky Steamboat.
Okay,
Randy
my
Savage
bad.
Twice?
Val Venus or Razor Ramon?
And that was Jesse James, you said?
Road Dogg, yeah.
Road Dogg. Yeah, he beat Val Venus.
Val Venus. All right, you got that one right. Well, there's only one option left. Diesel.
He beat Razor Ramon.
And Diesel beat Razor Ramon. Wow, what a loaded question that was. You got them all right. Good job. All right, let's look at a couple more here. And I forgot to highlight this, Slick Vic. Sorry.
You got to get that Final Fantasy clip every time I get one right.
Yep.
I heard you trilling it right there.
I have a problem doing that, but I like it. All right, Slick Vic, let's go. Let's just pick a random section here. It's going to be SmackDown, and they are separated by year. Let's go to 2002. We'll go to the most recent we can here. On the January 3rd, 2002 episode of SmackDown, Mr. McMahon announced what as his New Year's resolution? A, to give up drinking. B, to embarrass Ric Flair at the Royal Rumble. C, to inject WWE with a lethal dose of poison. Or D, to become a genetic jackhammer.
I'm going to go with embarrass Ric Flair at the Royal Rumble.
to embarrass Ric Flair at the Royal Rumble. Okay, so I'm going to have to flip back here. It's going to take me just a few moments to get to this section. I think I skipped it by a country mile. Yeah, I don't know where the, I think it's actually right here, 2001. That's a good guess, Slick Vic, but I have to find out. We've got WrestleMania. Jesus Christ, what is going on here? I'm right in the middle of it. Somewhere.
Jesus.
It's like Raw. It's like, okay, so answers Raw, and then we're on to SummerSlam, Royal Rumble. Okay, here's SmackDown. SmackDown 2002. Boy, oh boy. I should have been prepared. What was your guess again?
Embarrass Ric Flair at Royal Rumble.
All right. So, well, yeah, you're right. I like the choices there. Those were some good choices.
Do you remember when Vince put on like the wig and the robe and started spreading?
He said, "Get my goddamn robe off." They had some pretty good interactions during that time. That was pretty iconic.
We're gonna be partners.
Yeah. The consortium was me. Slick Vic, on the January 10th, 2002 episode of SmackDown, it was announced that 4 superstars would make their return to WWE in the upcoming Royal Rumble match. Which of the following was not one of those superstars?
Okay.
Multiple choice, well, not multiple choice, but you got to pick one. There's multiple options. Goldust, A, Goldust, B, Val Venus, C, Hulk Hogan, D, Mr. Perfect, or E, The Godfather.
Which one would not be making his return to the Royal Rumble?
Yes, it was announced on the January 10th episode that there were 4 superstars who would make their return. One of those superstars I just named was not mentioned.
Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan. All right. C, Hulk Hogan. And Slick Vic. Good job, Slick Vic. What a comeback for you. How about we do one more and then we call it a night? What do you say?
Sounds good.
All right, Slick Vic. I'm going to try to find a difficult one here. I want you to end on a good note, but I want you to end on a triumphant note as well. So let's see. Let's see if I can dig one out. That one's too easy. Some of these are pretty easy, like you would definitely get them. There's a section for in your house. You would definitely get those. Let's go to a different section here. All right. So this is SmackDown 2000. I got to go back here and get my answer sheet. This is going to be from the 2000 section of SmackDown. And it's question number 60. All right. One of the Radicals suffered a severe elbow injury on that episode. It's referring to the episode that... Hold on, let's see.
I know the answer.
You already know the answer?
Yeah, but I want you to read the question.
Yeah, February 3rd, 2000 episode is what it's talking about. Which member was it? A, Chris Benoit, B, Eddie Guerrero, C, Dean Malenko, or D, Perry Saturn?
Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, you remember that one well, huh, Slick Vic? Eddie Guerrero, yeah. B. Good job, Slick Vic. I must say you knocked it out of the park today. I stumped you with a few of those questions. You definitely don't like geography, I can tell you that. But
like in the last 12 years, which town did the belt change hands on? I'm like, what the fuck is that?
here's 6 different towns. Which one did the belt never change hands in ever? And it's like the answer was New York. Like you would never have, I would have never guessed that. All right, Slick Vic. Well, I did bring my highlighter today. I've highlighted every question that we asked you and that you got right. I left the ones that you got wrong unhighlighted because eventually we will revisit them at some other time. And we could get years worth of content out of this book at the rate we're going. We're going to have to, you know what we're going to have to do, Slick Vic? We're going to have to carve out like an hour's worth of showtime just for trivia. Because I feel like it just isn't long enough.
It certainly is a lot of fun.
It is fun. It's fun. It's educational. You learn. Everybody learns. Everybody enjoys it. I enjoy it. And it's especially fun and surprising when I ask you some of these questions. I ask you, I'm like, there's no way he's going to know this. And you're like, well, I know it. Instant. Got it right. But anyway, Slick Vic, that's the show. That's all the show this week, ladies and gentlemen. And hopefully you enjoyed it. We are just over 3 weeks away from WrestleMania. And over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be doing some different things. We're trying to, fill up the card a little bit with different stuff. But stuff keeps happening, and we end up having more to talk about. Next week, we may bring back the gimmick. We didn't have the gimmick this week because we had some stuff we had to talk about right at the top of the show. But of course, the SmackDown and Raw review. We're going to be looking back at card predictions. Hopefully we get some more info over the next week and we're able to make some more predictions there. And then, of course, if you enjoyed it this week, let us know and we'll bring you back some more trivia next week. And as always, the retro review. We still don't know exactly what WrestleMania we're going to be doing, but I'd say within the next couple of weeks we'll decide which retro WrestleMania we want to look at. So Slick Vic said that maybe a golden era WrestleMania, which would be 1 through 8, correct?
Yeah.
Pretty much 1 through 8. I think 9 was dipping into the new gen toes a little bit there. So we'll decide that over the next week. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining, and remember to like and share and all that good stuff on Facebook.com/WrestlingWithPower. We are live every Tuesday. YouTube.com/@WrestlingWithPower. And then over on Spotify, just search us up. We've been getting a lot of hits back and forth. It's kind of weird, Slick Vic, because like 1 week, actually it'll be like 2 or 3 weeks right in a row, we'll get significantly more listens on one platform than the other, and then it flips back the other way. I don't know how people are doing this stuff, but anyway, thank you, everybody, and stay powerful. I think Slick Vic forgot his line there for a second. Remember, I'm letting you play us out here, Slick Vic.
I wasn't queued up there. You just kind of like took over and said, you know what? Bye, everybody.
You could go straight to hell, everybody. Goodbye. No. I thought that you might catch on because I've let you sign us off the past couple of weeks. But all right, Slick Vic is going to play us out, everybody. Until next time, stay powerful.
And I'd like to wish you all the best in your future endeavors.